What is up, everybody? Sorry for the little bit of a delay there. This is your boy Raven, and looks like I'm flying alone again. Anyway, I had talked with Joe about possibly bringing up a few things, but I gave him the link last night. He said he would be here. He's not here. I have no idea what's going on. Possibly overslept again. However, there is something I did want to bring up because I came across this yesterday. I was in my bathroom. I was brushing my teeth, and while I was brushing my teeth, I came across a little video, and I was like, I want to watch this because there's quite a bit that goes into this, and this is not a very long video. But this was on Roll for Combat. It's going to be about I'll just kind of go through a few minutes of it. I'm going to let Steven do the explaining on this one because it's really good, and I think it should concern you, especially if you have a gaming store nearby that sells like these RPG books. I think everyone needs to hear this, so let me just pull it up real quick. Okay, we're going to kind of get to the meat of it here because the first part is for an ad. They're advertising Battle Zoo Ancestries and Battle Zoo Ancestries. I'm sorry. So here we go. This was from a stream they did with Greg Gillespie, and this is one I thought everybody should check out. And by the way, this is our first stream on Rumble, so let that sink in. There we go. Got that up. And presentation. Okay. So I have to do things a little bit differently. Everything's going to be a little bit of a learning experience here, ladies and gentlemen. So here we go. I want you to watch this. I want you to listen to it. Get your friend. As a matter of fact, get your friends in here. Like start pulling them in because we have a hell of a lot to discuss. Yeah, no kidding. Okay. So there are some good things about this I've noticed right away, some not so good things. But we are now in here. We're good. I hope so. Sound off in the chat. Actually, sound off in the chat if you haven't already. Here we go. And I'm going to start playing this, and I want you to listen to it. I want you to listen to it well, because I'm about to show you the direction D&D is going to go. And I'm afraid it's not looking very good. Also, before I kick this off, I just learned yesterday, while I was out and about, I stopped for a few and just kind of stopped in the park, and I found out that Hasbro is probably going to be laying more people off, which we already kind of knew, but it looks like it's going to be worse than we initially anticipated. It's going to be bad. D&D's releases have been rolled back. We already know that. I'll get back to that in just a minute. I'll show you something though, and I think it's going to coincide with how this goes. So just take a listen to this. And by the way, if you're watching us on Rumble, I haven't gotten anything in the live chats yet. You can watch us on Rumble, you can watch us on YouTube, and you can watch us on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck they're calling it now. Here we go. Ready? Let's do it.
And what's fascinating is that if you remember during PAX Unplugged, there was a leak, and they said that the Player's Handbook was supposed to come out on May 21st, and Eye of Vecna was supposed to come out on May 21st.
And then you had an insider who was saying that they were doing enough final steps on the Vecna that it was very clear that Vecna was going to come out in May. And that was why you were always saying that it's all going to come out in May, because the leak was very credible. Whereas I was saying that may be true, but like where they were in the playtest, it didn't look like they could get the Player's Handbook out by May at all.
Completely right. You're completely right.
And you were right about your Vecna leak was correct. Because Vecna is coming out on the date that they said, but the Player's Handbook isn't coming out until much later, September, right? And
now the question that we have with the Vecna Eve of Ruin book is that going to be the last of the D&D 5th edition books, or is that going to be the first of the 6th edition? Is this coming out ahead of 6th edition? We don't know. We have no idea. In fact, I didn't even know Planescape was a thing that they put out for D&D 5th edition. You might be asking, why bundle board games and books, and why make the two link? Why would we? I think this came up during the Spelljammer. I think John, the basic expert, brought it up on his channel, which was, why do Wizards of the Coast hate books, or why do they hate trees? why are you publishing 3 books in a box with a Game Master screen? I don't understand. We're about to understand. So hang tight.
November for the game, Dungeon Master, and then
Monster
next
Manual.
year, the 20. They're going to have to rename it from the 2024 update if part of it is in 2025, I guess.
Well, no, they're not. Well, this is what happened. They're making a D&D. That's coming out on June 18th, which is the same date that was leaked. Quest of Infinite Staircase coming out on July 16th, which is the same date that was leaked. So again,
we don't know whether Vecna, Eve of Ruin, and Quest from the Infinite Staircase, which is an anthology, is going to be the last of the 5th edition books. We have no idea. The only one that they mentioned that I'm even remotely interested in is the anniversary edition, which I showed on my Substack. And I said, that's the only one I'm even remotely interested in, and I'll wait for the reviews on that one, because if it's good, I will probably buy it. And it'll probably be the last Wizards of the Coast book I ever buy. But they will feature page for page the original white box D&D in there. So I was like, okay, that's cool, but I imagine 500 pages, after you take out whatever the page count is going to be for the original D&D, it's going to be a whole bunch of modern day, Danger Hair commenters going, oh my God, how do they ever play this? This is so unplayable today. And we're going to have to sit through that insufferable bunch of nonsense. That's what I predict. I'm open to being wrong. I hope I am. If you're one of the ones who buys that book, please let me know. And if it's bad, I'll pass. It's fine. Anyway, here we go. The 2025 release, by the way, 2 books will be released this year, much later this year. They'll be covering that. It's the Monster Manual that's going to be released in 2025. And as Discourse Mini said, I hope you weren't planning to put any dragons into your game of Dungeons and Dragons until next year, because here we go.
Single leaked date is the same date they announced, by the way. I am positive that the handbook was supposed to come out. The player's handbook was supposed to come out on May 21st. I'm positive it was. I'm positive it's been pre-printed in significant amounts. They pre-printed the signatures. They pre-printed the covers. They pre-printed a lot of this. I'm positive they have. I wouldn't even be surprised if there was a demo copy of Gamma when I go to Gamma in 2 weeks. I wouldn't even be surprised. I have a feeling that either A, they definitely wanted a little bit more time. B, which people are saying is that, well, there's AI art in there they need to get rid of. I doubt that one highly, because I hate to break it to you, I have Vecna quests and making of D&D. Those were printed last summer. So if there is any AI art, it's too late, because those books are done.
That's not why they delayed it.
No, that's
not because of AI art.
No.
I mean, you just look at where they were at on the playtest. You look at where the design cycle was.
Yeah.
And I even said this. I was saying, if they really do put it out then in some cases, they either would have had to not be actually listening to people's playtests, and they've said that they are, and I believe that they were, or they would have had to lay out some parts of it and left certain parts unlocked and then paid extra to the printer to change it at the last minute.
It's weird.
That's why I thought it was potentially going to get delayed. Or they were going to do something weird like that. And so, like, it makes sense they needed extra time on these things. May was always a very unusual time to get all of them out.
But look at this. They have so they're going to conventions. They're going to GaryCon, going to PAX East. They're going to ALA, San Diego Comic-Con, Gen Con, PAX West, Game Hall, Big Bet. Like, they have an entire con season, which they never list, by the way, because they never go to conventions. So they're going to conventions. They have booths at some of these conventions. So what are they going to have? Because I think they were planning on going to these conventions and selling the player's handbook and selling these adventures, because they have everything was coming out May, June, July. I have a feeling they were supposed to come out with everything by Christmas this year and have a box set. And I'm going to tell you a secret why, because I actually know something. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. Is anyone listening? Is it just us chickens? All right, are you ready? This is inside dirt that I know. I'm not supposed to tell anyone, but I'm going to tell you.
Why are you telling us if you're not supposed to?
Because I don't follow the rules. I'm a rule breaker. And actually, it's an opinion of mine, and I think I might have said this on the stream.
Wait, so it's not an inside dirt; it's just an opinion.
No, I'm just saying that so I don't get in trouble. It's inside dirt too.
Informed dirt.
It's inside dirt that I believe is 99% true, and I might have mentioned this on the stream before. I think I did, so it's not super. But so there's a thing. You have to tell your books. You have to list your books 9 to 6 months ahead of time.
Yeah, that's not inside dirt. That's a well-known thing about the solicitation phase on books. We've talked about it. Yeah.
That's not what I was getting at. But what's the solicitation phase for a game?
Okay. This is where we want to start paying attention. The solicitation phase on books for a gaming store, 6 to 9 months. And he asks, what's the solicitation on a game? Get ready. This is going to blow your mind. So Patty, DB, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm finally seeing your comments in the chats. I'm not able to put them on screen. I'm using Rumble Studio, so a lot of learning experience here. I'm just figuring it all out. Yes, we will see your comments if you're commenting on Twitter, YouTube, or Rumble. So go ahead, get those in. Feel free to chat. Here we go. Solicitation phase on books. 6 to 9 months. Get ready for the rest of this. It's so weird.
It's different, right? It's less than a book.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
And if you categorize your product as a game rather than a book, guess what? They can't return it. Games can't be returned. Books are returnable. So if I sell Walmart 1,000 books and they only sell 100 books, they're going to send me back 900 books and then I have to credit them. If I sell them 1,000 games, they keep those games forever. What they do with them is not my problem. The other
Okay. So let's put this into perspective for those of you watching right now. If Steven sells 1,000 books to Walmart and they only sell 100, he has to they can then send those books, the remaining 900 books, they can send those back and he has to credit them for it. But if he sells a game to Walmart and that game never sells, Walmart will have to put it on clearance and sell it at a loss. It's not his problem. We did notice that Wizards of the Coast pulled out of their deal with Penguin Random House recently, because what do we all know that Penguin Random House, they distribute books. They don't distribute games. They distribute books. So what happens when your local gaming store, remember what I said, we're looking at Planescape, we're looking at Spelljammer, a lot of these box sets, a lot of slipcover sets and stuff like that. What are those for? Well, those are games. Those aren't books, those are games. Contained in that box is the entire game. Are you starting to get it? Cal, what's going on? What's happening? So when you sell a game like that, what happens? Watch out for the dreaded minimum purchase order. The box sets count as games, yes. The books, the slipcover sets will count as games. Combine that with minimum purchase orders, what do you got? Look at Radiant Citadel. How did that sell? Anyone who's been to their local game shop, you can ask them, hey, how's Radiant Citadel selling? They probably still got the same books on their shelves that they got from day one. They probably moved maybe a copy. And just putting my foil hat on, I think this is going to be done to bankrupt local gaming stores, or at least have them break off the relationship with Wizards of the Coast so that they can sit there and go, well, you can order through us directly now. And if you want any of those 5th edition books, I'm going to tell you right now, you better order them through Amazon while you still have the chance. Because fairly soon, you'll never see prices like that again. Ever. All right, so listen to the rest of this. Because it's super, this was so super eye-opening. Within this 10 minutes, I was like, wait, what? What is going on? So when we said that, Marvel tried this in the 90s and it didn't work, that's very true. But now look, there are certain things they can do now to ensure that it will. Go figure. Scumbag corporations doing scumbag things. What else is new, right? It's a day ending and why.
The thing is, I make a much higher percentage on games than I do on books. On books, you only make about 35-40%. A game, you can make 50, 55, even 60% on a game. So why do you think they've been making these box sets and making all these like boxes that look like games now? So what you do is you put your player's handbook, your DM's guide, and your monster manual into a box set. You sell it to these companies with only 6 weeks lead time. You don't need 6 months, just 6 weeks.
As a game?
As a game. Category game.
It is a game, so it's not like deceptive.
No, it's completely legal. Completely legal. In fact, I'll tell you why you don't do this. Okay, now we're really getting deep in the weeds. If you are selling a book and you bring it from overseas, there's no tariffs on books. Okay? So if I bring books, wrong. There's no tariffs on games. So games are excluded from tariffs. But books have, I think, like a 15% tariff on them. So if you print a book overseas and then bring it into this country, you have to pay a 15% tariff in the United States, which just gets passed on to the consumer. But if you categorize your product as a game, and these are actually worldwide categories, like you actually have categories for this, there's no tariff. It's zero. So guess what everyone categorizes all their books as whenever they bring them into the United States from China? They're games.
Game?
Oh, yeah, of course they're games, because they are games. You're not lying. They're books, but they're games. They're actually considered. They are games. I mean, they're not like a board game, but they are considered games. So what I think Hasbro is going to be doing is to make more money. And one of the reasons they got rid of Penguin is that they do have their own game distribution network already in house. They actually already have one. So what they're going to do is that they're going to recategorize these as games, sell them in rather than just like loose books. They're going to sell them in box sets. They'll be able to do it with less lead time. They only need 6 weeks instead of 6 months. And they make a higher percentage of profits, and they can't be returned. How about that for inside dirt? Have I told anyone that yet?
I mean, whoa. Talk about wild. And Joe is here, but I'm not seeing him. So we're just kind of waiting for him to activate his camera or his avatar and his mic. But yeah, this is exactly what we're what we're going on right now is that this we're looking at the future is going to be in boxes. I mean, no doubt they've loved to put their players into boxes. They've been putting us into boxes for a little while. You go in this box. You go in the right box or the left box. You know, you go into the straight white box. You go into the straight white male box. You know, and then we get to toss it. So that's what's going on right now. And like I said, I personally think since now game shops won't be able to return them, minimum purchase orders are going to come into play. And you're going to see a whole lot. You wait several months, you could pick it up for pennies on the dollar because they're going to want to sell through that stock as quickly as possible. I don't think it's going to be a case of, well, we didn't sell that many, so we got to send these back, get credit for them, and then we'll be able to buy the next round. It's not going to be that.
Rumble, why do you suck?
There are some pros and cons about Rumble. There are definitely some pros and cons with Rumble right now, but I don't know. I don't think I'm ready to cut ties with the. I don't think I'm ready to cut ties with StreamYard just yet. So sounds like you just woke up.
Okay, you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Excellent. All right, that's a step in the right direction. I wasn't sure that the Rumble was actually receiving me.
No, Rumble's receiving you just fine. I finally saw the notification that you'd arrived. I was like, oh, good, because we're about at the end of that little story that I wanted to bring up. But
oh yeah,
my advice to you is, you know, especially if you're supporting your local gaming store, is to start talking to them. Start talking to them about your favorite independent games. Sooner or later, they're going to have to move away from Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast is going to become a very toxic relationship pretty soon.
Well, see, I have not the opposite experience, but I think I have one of those very particular experiences. My local gaming shop sucks.
Oh, really?
And when people say, "Oh, you mean like it's just not a very good store?" It's like, no, they have they have cornered their little part of the market, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know how they're doing right now, but they approach things like, "Man, we've been here forever. We're better than you. We've always been better than you because we're the one game in town."
Oh.
And because of the way my state laws work, they get away with it. They've actually formed because it's not illegal in Washington. They've formed an informal cabal, right?
Yep.
Which is incredibly anti-capitalist in my opinion. But basically, because they can put out more product than any one other store, right?
Yeah.
They were able to form a little group, and they've basically cut up the different portions of the market between the various game stores. So, you know, Noble Knight Games focuses on board games and sells computer time, right? And the local comic shop that just does comics, called the Danger Room, just does comics, right? But my local game shop, the one that is closest to me, is the big box. They sell everything to everyone in all the ways, and their primary moneymaker is they're the Friday night Magic location, right?
Yep.
And basically their thing is that for the longest time, because they have been the one that survived trial and tribulation, they went from a small hole in the wall in a mall to being an actual location with a 2-floor building, right? I don't feel bad particularly if their economics get rough, because they're kind of assholes.
Yeah.
But in terms of the industry at large, no, I don't want comic shops to have or game shops to have a hard time. I mean, obviously. But at the same time, if you've been living large for that long, right? Eventually, the chickens come home to roost. You know.
Yeah. Well, when you've been that large for that long, if you haven't made and not just good business decisions, but good decisions that would benefit your customers, yeah, they're not going to come back. And once you've done that, it doesn't matter how many. I get it. I get that WoTC and Hasbro are trying to make hard turn somewhere. But they've also done some very stupid things. Like I didn't know until yesterday that there is a Dungeons and Dragons streaming channel. And
yeah, I did. I knew about that.
I had no idea. What would have been good for that? A Dragonlance TV series.
Oh no! Anything intelligent that Hasbro could be doing in almost any way, they're not doing. But like, say, to pull a name out, Disney. I don't think they honestly think that they can fail, no matter how many times they fail.
They're Clownfish TV has been reporting they're feeling the pain, and when I say they're feeling the pain, I mean they are feeling it right now. Like it is genuinely hurting them. Like I can't tell you just how badly it's going, but I can tell you it's not good. It really isn't. They're looking at some very hard times, and unfortunately, like the whole board just needs to be fired. The whole thing, top to bottom, including Iger. Iger needs to go, and they were holding a vote among the shareholders. And I think all you need to do is hold maybe like a few shares to be able to get a vote.
Right.
And he was begging people for their vote. And I'm like,
well, getting it back onto the WoTC specific angle, I think we've discussed before that one of the points of contention is the current people in charge of D&D as a subsection of WoTC and Hasbro, as a tiny component, are former mobile game and live service people, right?
Yeah.
Now, the propensity is to put this in the most malicious terms, because they are actually, it's correct, trying to turn D&D into the kind of multimedia experience that they have experience with, right?
Yep.
But the thing is, well, why would they do that? It must be evil. No, it's worse. It's incompetence. And you go, well, what kind of incompetence? How is that incompetent? Because the word game confuses them.
Yeah. Well,
D&D is a game, right? Yeah. Well, so it's like a mobile game, right? No.
They are going
to
put
their
entire focus into that virtual tabletop that they basically extorted off of Amazon. They basically extorted it off of them, because what they did was they initially approached Twitch about it, owned by Amazon, of course, and said, we would like to buy this. They said no. And they said, okay, well, we understand you have a license to copy our works in perpetuity for this this virtual platform. However, we'll just go ahead and make a new edition and not give you any license. And of course, that scared them, and they were like, okay, fine, we'll sell. They sold. They're still going to make a 6th edition anyway. It's coming. It'll cap off at its core in 2025. So by this time next year. And not that I give a crap. I'm with Patty. I'm not coming back. I've given them the fair shake. I've given them more than a fair shake personally, from a customer standpoint. And they've done nothing but show that they despise me as a customer. They want my money, but they want to hate me at the same time. It's like, no, hate me for free. You will pay to hate me. That's how it goes.
Well, here's the thing, and I think that this is an interesting component of the conversation. Is we've seen this before, and it's like, well, what do you mean we've seen this before? Like from WoTC? No, outside of WoTC, we've seen this level of misunderstanding. And it's not just the obvious ones. It's not like, oh, you mean Disney. It's like, no. In the game sphere, this is White Wolf being bought by CCP all over again. The guys who made EVE Online bought White Wolf to get the license. They wanted the intellectual property to make a World of Darkness MMO, which sounds cool, right? Like, if you put aside all the bullshit, it's like, that sounds pretty cool. Right?
Yeah.
But anyone I talk to from that time, especially industry insiders, 'cause I know people, right, say CCP was a horrible steward. And it's like, well, why? It's like, because they did not give a shit about brick and mortar stores or physical media. They didn't care about the environment of gaming at that time. They only wanted the property. And having the property, they wanted it to turn a profit for their investment. But they failed to understand the particulars of that niche hobbyist clique. Right?
Yeah.
And that is pertinent to what we're looking at with WoTC. They have the property. They've had it forever. Right? Or at least for 20 years.
Yeah.
Right? The new management, which isn't even a newer it's the newest form of an ongoing management, which is really since the Hasbro buyout, right? They want money for their investment on D&D. They want to find new and better ways to monetize that shit, right? It's not even bad idea, but they don't understand their community. They don't understand the hobby, right? They think of it as a toy because Hasbro makes toys. D&D is a toy, right? And it's like, well, it's at least 2/3 a toy. It's that 1/3 they don't understand, the part that is the intellectual experience of people. They kind of get it because they look at interactive entertainment venues like Critical Role and go, oh, so it's like a improv acting troupe materials thing, right? We can sell that. But then they don't understand that the community is not just there to passively absorb material. The community has demands and expectations about what quality looks like.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty awful. Patty's telling me to go over to the studio tab, hit the edit default theme, and you can enable a chat overlay. Okay.
I will fiddle with that in a minute.
I'm trying to fiddle with it now, but I don't.
I thought he was saying I need to do it.
No. Okay, here, edit. Now, overlays. Here we go, live chat. There we go. Viewership stats, donation banners. Yeah, okay. Here we go.
Aha.
So it's gonna look like that. So I can't just do whatever. But there we go. We can. I don't know if you can even scroll up to see the rest of it. But anyway, it's there. It's there. It's going to be hovering over you.
I mean, my face will be available in a second.
But anyway, what we're seeing now though is what we're seeing is Wizards of the Coast wants such tight control over D&D that it's going to be untenable to even play it. Like the less they can sell of physical books, the more control they have over it. And I think for those of us who are buying the older rule sets, you're going to get, I'd say even watch 5th edition. Watch 5th edition. because pretty soon you're going to be lectured about buying that one too. Because if I go to Drive-Thru-RPG right now, I'm going to go right to it. Matter of fact, I hate doing this, but I kind of have to for this. Let's see, Dungeons and Dragons. I want 4th edition. Yeah, let's do 4th edition.
Not that of which we do not speak.
That of which we do not speak. 4E. I want that. Wizards of the Coast, yes. D&D 4th edition. Where is the player's handbook? Well, there's the Dungeon Master's Guide. We could do that. About the cover, read more. Let's keep going. Boy, they put a lot into that. Aha. I'm going to show you something. This is 4th edition, ladies and gentlemen. Fucking 4th edition. Fucking 4th edition. And you are going to be lectured for buying 4th edition. We, Wizards, recognize that some of the legacy content available on this website does not reflect the values of the Dungeons & Dragons franchise today. Some older content may reflect ethnic, racial, and gender prejudice that were commonplace in American society at that time. These depictions were wrong then, and they are wrong today. The content is presented as it was originally created, because to do so otherwise would be the same as claiming these prejudices never existed. Dungeons & Dragons teaches that... Oh, what the fuck?
Oh, that's me.
Oh, that was you. Okay.
Sorry.
So, Dungeons & Dragons teaches today that diversity is strength, and we strive to make our D&D products as welcoming and inclusive as possible. This part of our work will never end. Yeah, that's 4th edition. Ugh. Fuck. I mean, really? Just for the love of Pete. Just come on. That was 4th edition. Guess what? 5th edition is going to follow suit. Work or peppers. I see you've grown your epic beard back out. It's even more epic than ever.
I have not yet shaved the epic beard. It just continues to grow. It is now a component of me. I may or may not go back into the darkness at intervals as I consume this sandwich so that people do not see the beard proceed to consume mass quantities.
I was about to ask if you ever eat that. That's like the one question I have to people with epic beards. Do you ever eat that thing? Because I tried once and I'm not kidding. The mustache kept going into my mouth, and I was like, "That's it." I quit mid-meal once to shave it all off.
It does. The thing is, my old man used to be like, "I'm saving it for later." I am very much of the school of no man, clean that thing. That's disgusting. Don't leave a giant glob of mustard running down your chin as a component of your face. It's like, no, please.
His rat's nest bears trapped so many crumbs this bum could get marooned and still have lunch for a month.
Indeed. No, when I came in late, but here, god dang it, I got here, yeah. You were running that clip from a guy talking about how we're gonna see more and more books that aren't games. Right?
We're going to see more games that aren't books, is what he was trying to put out there. Yeah.
Well, I think a component of that, a different approach by a different group, if you've not seen it, is that is my anger about V5. If you've not dug deep into Paradox's stewardship of Vampire the Masquerade and the V5 edition.
What stewardship?
Oh no, there's stewardship because they clearly have a specific presentation they want to go with, because it's multimedia cross-reference with Bloodlines, the video game that is dead on arrival. The one that was being produced by Hardsuit and then got transferred to Chinese room, and they're going to have you play an elder, quote unquote, named Fire, who doesn't understand what being a vampire is. You know, it's gonna be great. But the thing is that the game itself is already ass on a mechanical level, because it's a masquerade redux of Requiem with all the good parts of Requiem taken out, right? But that's not what I'm talking about. That's just me saying, hey, let's talk shit about a game. The actual problem is that, as a for instance, they said, because they said it. It was in an interview. You can find it. It's out there. They said you shouldn't want to play a Sabbat because the Sabbat are monsters. Pause for a minute that you're playing a game called Vampire about being a monster. But more succinctly, their argument was that you can be a monster without being a monster, because the Sabbat are the deep end of the darkness pool. Okay, fine. I can see that. Right? But they released a Sabbat book. Back in the day, factions were optional. You didn't have to run a Sabbat game, but if you wanted to have Sabbat, here are the rules for running the Sabbat as though they were players. All good. Right? What's in the Sabbat book now? It's coffee table book. It looks pretty. It has only character information for more rituals of abyssal mysticism that you probably won't get to use because your ST rigorously regulates getting into that stuff. And it's got all this text, all this wasted paper about alternate paths of morality, right, that you can't use because they give you no mechanics for using them. They don't even say these don't need mechanics, just implement them as you see fit. They give no guidelines at all because it's not a game book. It's a coffee table book at the full price of a high glossy art book with fancy photographs that were done by like a collage artist with models, hardcover, fancy binding, right? It's the most overpriced piece of shit in my collection. And I only have a PDF.
Give me this any day of the week.
Yeah, no, by comparison, that's a much better game.
Way better.
Or the Requiem game that I'm running. Disregard modernity, go back to 2000, run Requiem.
I actually talked with Marcus quite extensively over the last couple of weeks, and he was we got to talking White Wolf games, and he pulled out what was it? He pulled out Wraith the Oblivion, saying it was his favorite. And I was like, yes. And he wants to run a game of that.
Oh my god!
Patty! What's up, motherfucker?
Oh my god!
Hello, motherfucker! But yeah, he pulled out a copy of Wraith the Oblivion. I was like, oh my god, that was so good. And I couldn't find a single person around me that wanted to play it. I had a lot of books for it. I had the Mediums book, I had the core book, I had they got the Player's Guide, what was it? A Tempest of Shadows or something like that. Midnight Express. I was captivated by that one. That one looked so awesome. And I was like, this is what I want to play, because I could hear all my players piss and moan about the characters that they had lost in games past. And I was like, you can play that character again. And they're like, nah. I'm like, you don't even have to learn a new system. Nah. So that book stayed on the shelf unless I read it, which I read those books multiple times and lost them in my move. Those are the books I really miss the most. I really need those books again. But that and Vampire the Requiem, I'm a little hesitant to even buy a vampire book anymore. After the way that whole thing went down, it just soured me on it. I was just like, why? I can do the same thing with Night Shift and just.
Well, I think in a broader context, you're touching on something that we don't talk about enough. And I mean, we do. It comes up every now and again. But I think it's a good conversation point for our mellow stream in the morning. right? Which is the newest generation of players.
Yeah.
They're not just being misled. They're not just being sold false goods. They're not just being exploited, right? All the things
Right.
we usually talk about. They are less experimental, despite their claims of being really experimental in punk rock, and less willing to explore what it means to play a game.
Well, if you're talking about the lack of desire to play Wraith, that happened back in like 2000, 2001.
Right, but it's been an ongoing process.
And,
right.
And believe me, these people were not. They were a little bit older than me, just by a couple of years. So now today, they are way less likely to try new things, unless Jenny D or somebody else tells them. I see Patty over there,
true.
like, yeah.
Dude, I realized that I was like getting all excited and say, "Whoop whoop! Look, missed you guys. How have you been?" And then my mic was on, my personal mic was on mute, so I got a mute on the screen and on the on the device itself. Did it to myself on the other stream, but anyway. Yeah, it's like you're saying, no, unless it's got some sort of widespread appeal, people like safeguard their time, like the valuable commodity that it is, but they safeguard it, and then it's like, just give the game a try. No, I haven't heard of it. I don't want to try it. I want to play what I know everybody says the experience is.
Like, I personally, just due to how factioned D&D has become, I quit playing it. Like,
yeah.
To be honest, this is just my opinion, so nobody has to take this as fact. Wasted Lands, you could plug and play your favorite rule set in, or you can use their orc system. You can pretty much do the same thing with Night Shift. You got to run some conversions, but it would be pretty easy. Shadow Dark is so rules light that's easy. There's no nitpicking over that. Castles and Crusades is my go-to, though, because Castles and Crusades, again, so easy. There's no nitpicking. There's none of that. And I'm a mix. I've done Vampire the Masquerade. I loved it. I've done D&D, AD&D 2nd Edition, and liked it. I've done D&D 3.5, loved it. Thought it was fun when I got to play it. I owned precisely none of the books when I played it, though. So I had to go off of what Josh, our DM, was telling me. But the thing is, I'm not, this is rules as written. This is pure story game. I'm like right here. I'm right there in the middle. I like elements of both. I don't think it should be such that I should have to completely read and memorize the entire fucking rule book and then take it to the table. I think it should be, especially if we're all first time into it, let's get into the game. Let's fuck it up. Let's bumble about. We'll figure it out as we go. Well, that's the way we did it with AD&D 2nd Edition. And we started with Hero Quest and GURPS, for fuck's sake. And we just used that as a toolbox. We didn't use it as a complete rule set. There was no way to do that. It would grind combat to a near halt. I mean, one guy's turn would take about an hour. It was just,
can't have that.
No, especially if you're playing the wizard, and you've got to go through your spell book to find which spells you want to cast. It's like, oh fuck, no.
I gotta say, that's one of the nicest things about when all the normies really flooded into Dungeons and Dragons, having like monster stat cards and like spell cards of like all the different flavors in their own deck, so that way you have people that could buy those decks of cards rather than like their whole book. I thought that was one of those nice things.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. There were some great things about the normies coming in, and when I say normies, I'm talking about people who have just never played. They're not really knowing what to expect, so they really didn't come in with this like high bar of expectation. But as Cal pointed out, many newer players are paying for politics in gaming.
Literally, yeah.
I really wish that there was that story called "What the Hell GM," and it was a game where the GM presented this kingdom. Kingdom was under threat by a lich who was completing a ritual. If he completed that ritual, they were going to be overwhelmed with the undead. Like, this dude had an army of the undead. He was preparing them. They only had 30 days to do it. And one of the parties like, oh, where does this kingdom stand on gay marriage?
Who gives a fuck?
Well, much more to Cal's point when he says many newer players are paying for politics. It's not even just like in the game. You're literally taxed on the price of your book for the cultural appropriation editors, the what is that called? The safety tools that what is it?
The sensitivity readers.
The sensitivity readers. There you go.
Yeah.
You're paying for that in your book. You're paying for the DEI art. You're paying for the DEI writing. And, we used to get taxed because one of the things that I didn't like about the shift from I never played second edition AD&D. I started off playing first edition AD&D, and I only played like 6 sessions of that before me and my papa moved on to 3.5. But like noticing the verbiage difference between first edition AD&D and to 3.5, where they're getting paid by the word, some of these freelance writers were specifically making stuff extremely wordy, knowing that they could pump up their end of month check if they would just write more words.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there's that. I think games like Old School Essentials and Lamentations of the Flame Princess get basic and expert pretty much spot on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said for the people who are writing off the OSR, like the clones and stuff like that, I think they're doing themselves a disservice, really. Yes, the older editions have been made available, and yes, you can read those. But there again, you're giving Wizards of the Coast money. All they see is that spreadsheet with that bottom line. Did it put us in the red or did it put us in the black? That's all they give a shit about. And guess what? Those sensitivity readers they hired, they don't give a shit. They don't give a fuck about any of that. And they're looking at, are we in the black despite them or are we in the black because of them? Well, it doesn't matter. We're in the black. Until they see we're in the red, why? It's not going to matter to them. And that's why I say I can't sit there and take that kind of thought seriously, because at least Old School Essentials went, they went right up to that line and they were like, do something. And Wizards of the Coast, they're like, nope. And I think those OSR clones do a lot of good. That's how many of us today are getting into those old rule sets. Because if it weren't for them, the older rule sets, nobody would care. Nobody would give a shit. They would just think, oh, this is how it's always been. They built a little bit off each one. And of course,
I'd never played White Box, so this is actually my first experience with White Box, because Lamentations. Yeah, brother.
Did you get the hardcover?
Yeah. Did you see his latest news update?
Yeah. We're still waiting on that, but dude, this is really good.
That's a well put together book.
John's even coming up with White Box. It's WIGHT, which is going to be his OD&D mixed with chainmail rules. There is an omnibus that actually did that. And I'm sitting there like, I know he made a video a while back saying, well, mission accomplished, but kind of like your services aren't really required anymore. But I'm like, okay, well, why are you doing that? I understand that there are some white box-ish systems, like Swords and Wizardry, for example, that maybe they missed certain rules on. Delving Deeper got even closer, which I'm going to grant that. I have it. I read it. Yeah, they got pretty close, like OSC close. But it's like, why make another clone if it's just mission accomplished? Mission accomplished. We got it. Now we got this. We don't need that anymore. That's the one thing I never truly understood is if it's already okay. If the argument is we don't need it anymore, why make a new one? But I'm still like curious. I still want to see his presentation, because I can tell you from these guys right here, his little Crusader Chronicle zines. I still
Those are
got to
pretty
order
sick.
issue 5. Those, just based on those, it's going to be good. You know, I'm curious. I just don't understand why there's one mentality, but let's do it anyway. It just kind of puzzles me a little bit.
I know there's like you said, there's already the one omnibus that puts together white box and chainmail, but I don't think that's something that you see very often. I think the one that you mentioned just now is the first time I've heard of that one, and then hearing about, I think Crossface and the Basic Expert are doing it, but if they put their own spin on it, so like with Makwahito, it's like, yeah, everybody and their dog has access to white box, but not everybody has access to the special rules and the maps that make Makwahito, its own rules define the setting.
Yeah.
So when you get the average clone enjoyer versus the average clone maker, there's a lot of people who go in there and they change like 2 or 3 words and then put their stamp on it and then spit on Gary Gygax's grave on their way out.
That's the part that does bother me.
Yeah.
Admittedly, the people that they're shitting on the works of Gygax and Artisan, but they're going to use them. I'm like, wait, that makes even less sense to me. So let's see, OD&D single volume PDF. Here we go. I'm gonna pull this up real quick because I think this is the single volume edition. And
then do you know how to use the share screen? So down
Yes,
at the
I
bottom,
do.
you hit screen
Yep.
share, and then you got to hit presentation at the top.
Yep, I got it. It works just like StreamYard.
Cool.
In that way, it does work just like StreamYard. So I'm not really missing anything between the two. But yeah, it takes a minute. StreamYard's very, very streamlined in that respect. And it doesn't, like, normally it would show all 3 of us here, but let's see. I mean, right here we have, let's see, combat. In the combat section, we got combat sequence, surprise initiative, melee, missile, damage, unarmed, and healing. Combat reference tables. Where is mass combat though?
As a weird side rant, I just want to throw out, that is one of the things about modern RPGs that annoys the shit out of me, and it's something I love that the OSR has retained, is modern game books don't like charts. They fucking hate charts for some reason.
That is not entirely true. Shadow Dark loves charts. But here, Appendix B, catapults and jousting. Appendix C, using chainmail in combat.
Nice.
And so they have combat example, fighting capability by class level. And that's going to be pages 80 and 81. We'll just zip on down.
But
I'm just saying that
correct
back
me
in
if
the
I'm
day,
wrong, I haven't looked at Shadow Dark, but is Shadow Dark more of an OSR clone, or does it take a lot of what people like about 5th edition and then mix in like the favorites from old school stuff?
I think it does a bit of both. And
Okay.
like I have the book up here, but it, going through it, there are a lot of charts, a lot of spells, not much in the way of rules, but when you look at the book, it's pretty easy to figure out. Just go back here for a second. Not that. But when you look at this book, you can see it's kind of like it's a little like
That's a
tab
tome.
there. You can kind of go to wherever you need to go. Like you're going to be put in the right neighborhood.
I'm just making a commentary that back in the day, it's not that you didn't learn the rules, but you'd often learn the rules to the chart, right?
Yeah.
Because the rule that the chart was related to was going to be right there. So your book was populated with many charts, because you used the charts as spot reference, right? And that made things go faster. I have seen too many game books in the recent era that think they are either a technical manual or they are like a Bible, right? And they want you to know all these rules and love all their words and be really into this sentence that basically says, do what you want, right? And it's like, no, I need to know exactly what the rules are at a glance, please. And I honestly think that part of that is they don't like to give us charts anymore.
Do you think DM screens help a lot with that? Like, do you think if you can put together everything that you need to know to actually play a game on a DM screen, do you think you'd have enough space and enough depth to make like a worthwhile game?
I think that a component of all the stuff that we're talking about and dealing with is why they're pushing so hard for a screenless environment where you just DM in the open, because then you won't have the rules in front of you, and that makes you a dependent. You have to buy what they give you, and you have to understand what they give you, because if you could write it down and put it in a binder and have it all to yourself, and maybe one day give it to someone else, right, as a diet version that you constructed, well, that would utterly destroy their ability to control your experience. They hate the idea that you and I can both read and then take this magical device, maybe you've heard of it, called a pencil, and then write down what we read. How dare we?
How dare we?
Yep.
But I don't know if you've seen my Twitter post, but I also DM screenless. For better or for worse.
Like if it's 10 candles, I don't have that rule book is so small and the rules are so streamlined that I don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, past a certain point, once you've read it, you don't even need the screen anyway. But right here, combat using chainmail rules from the Strategic Review, volume 1, number 2. So they do have those rules there. So they're right here, and they give you a combat example, and then they give you fighting capability by class and level. So we do have charts and stuff like that for that. And since neither combat system was explained in the original booklets, what's followed is the unedited text describing D&D combat, in which Gygax tries to clarify the original combat system and advises the use of alternate combat system for battles involving principal figures, or in other words, the player characters. But for those who want to try and use the chainmail combat rules in conjunction with D&D, I have listed below the fighting capabilities of various classes as listed in Men in Magic and Greyhawk. Men in Magic, page 18, describes fighting capability as a key to use in conjunction with chainmail fantasy rule as modified in various places herein. So it has been modified. Further clarification can be found in a couple of free PDFs. Jason Vay's supplement 6, Forbidden Lore and Alderon's using chainmail to resolve OD&D combats. Although I believe these two gentlemen do disagree on some points, both booklets can be found with the magic of Google. However, perhaps the easiest way to add flavor of chainmail combat to the D&D game is to introduce the multiple attack rule described in the combat example below, where characters of the hero level above gain 1 attack per level against normal men and creatures basically at strength. So that's what this is. It's literally just 1 page. It's just this. Like, I don't know. Personally, I like that they've done that. They just kind of stuck that in there. But I think Swords and Wizardry does a good job. I think Delving Deeper does a great job. You know what? You really can't go wrong with White Box F Mag. I have always been a fan of White Box F Mag. You really can't go wrong with that one. And Joe, what the hell is that weird rainbow on the edge of the screen there? It is like drawing my attention.
That's my computer.
I was gonna say I don't want you to explain it. I want it to be magic. He's
okay. All right.
He's pondering the orb on screen.
Yeah, there you go. I'm pondering my orb.
Yeah, that's his orb pondering over there.
That's
it looked like some kind of like dry ice mist or something coming off.
No,
like,
this box is my work box that my boss bought it for me. Yeah, my boss bought it for me, and it came with this glorious rainbow effects for me to ponder.
Okay.
So it's all rainbows and magic over here, and you've seen what the results of that magic looks like, actually.
Yeah, I've got just Matrix green all up in my box, so.
Well, as you may or may not know, Patty, I gave some time ago, I gave Wolfgar the link to the thing I've been working on that you gave suggestions to. And the other night, Wolfgar sends me a message.
I finally finished it
on private. Yeah, and to be fair, I think he had chemical taken, right?
No.
Oh wow, no. So
No.
that was in fact just pure unadulterated. What have you done to my brain?
Yeah, that was what the shit.
But followed by, this is like the most bizarre, awful thing I've ever read. It's damaging souls. I want to buy it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I guess I should get on getting that shit done, shouldn't
I
I?
had a Sebastian Bach reference. It's like the time Sebastian Bach saw the back of Metallica's album Kill 'Em All. He's like, these are the ugliest human beings I've ever seen. I have got to have this album. I'm not gonna lie, I was horrified. I was taken aback. This is the shit that Satan himself would look at and go, nope.
Well, the thing is relative to something you were talking about earlier. Part of the reason it's taking a while is because I want to do it right, both mechanically, obviously, right, but also like in terms of setting material, working within a page count, so on. And this translates to, there's a lot that is pronouncedly different from the base Red Room experience. You could just run Wretched Darkness and you'd be fine. You can get the same results, right? But I'm like, no. If you want to dive deep into the deep end of this pool, grab your copy of the Red Ministries, and we can do other things with this too.
Oh.
And it's you've seen it.
Yeah.
You've seen it.
Yeah. I can't unsee it, dude. This is okay. Let me put it to you this way.
Me and Venger, man.
Before you go any further, because I do want to bring this up.
All right.
This is one of those videos I saw, and I was like, "Oh God, what have you done?" I have shown this on my what was it on my Twitter feed because I thought it was hilarious, and oh boy, this is stop that. Go here. There we go. Okay. Boom. So we're just gonna go all the way back to the beginning. I'm gonna share this. You guys have got to see this video. It's so fucked. This is I went in wanting to read this, and when I read it, I was like, "What have I done? Why have I subjected myself to this?" Here we go. All right, so
happy Valentine's Day, boss. Oh, that is so sweet, June. But I'm good, thanks. I want to ruin Valentine's Day. How should I do it? Oh, boss, I could never. I love love. After all, I'm an empath. Hypothetically, you do your market research. What market? Find the most popular date spot restaurant in your area. Okay. Prior to the big day, you get a job there as a server. Oh, I want to ruin the day, not serve tables, Jim. And you're going to want to wait for this punchline. Prior to the big day, you've purchased hundreds of fake engagement rings. And hypothetically, you place them in all the desserts and drinks of every happy couple.
Oh, wow, just jump right to it.
Yeah.
How about maybe something a bit slower?
Then hypothetically, every time you go to serve a table, you nonchalantly comment to the man, "A different girl again today."
Oh, God.
Make eye contact with his date before saying, "I'll give you a few minutes."
All right, I said ruin, not eradicate or decimate, okay? How about something a bit less direct?
Less direct?
Yeah.
Hypothetically, you find out what major event is occurring on Valentine's Day near you, whether that be a concert, sporting event, what have you. When you book your tickets early, of course, you make sure that you book every other seat in the stadium, thereby indirectly separating every happy couple, creating a wedge between them, as it were.
Oh, okay.
But that's just a hypothetical.
Great work.
You dropped your cookie, by the way.
Right, cool. Thank you, Timothy. I will treasure it. Great work.
Have a lovely day.
Jesus. when you can traumatize the devil.
that is talking to me about game stuff sometimes.
Like, Jimothy.
So let me read you a little blurb real quick, because this is Raven's fault. This is not in my book. This is just Raven's fault.
I'm so look to the people watching this right now. I'm so sorry.
So I'm gonna live that video that we just watched for a minute. So, Raven says, I got an idea. I got one. An adventure called the Cutting Room Floor. Deep within the recesses of your realm, there's this place where the floors are slicked and caked with blood. All the stuff you had to cut culminates in a dungeon crawl adventure that leads to this cutting room. And that's as much of an idea as I've got. I'm running on sugar and hate now, and it's late as hell. And I said, the cutting room. What would we do to be beautiful, to be successful, to become powerful?
Well,
for those willing to sacrifice, the Beyond has the answer.
oh,
Travel into the deepest, darkest parts of the derelict city, seeking out the Crimson Theater, an abandoned and decayed place in the desolate district. If you can dig deep into the filth and the dark through the ruin of the back alleys and crumbling buildings, you may find a place where celluloid serial killers and documentary characters gather. They can make you beautiful. They can make you successful. They can make you a star. The showman, a succubi, who rules there will make it happen. If you survive. 24 hours, hunted through nether realms and false existence, chased by cinematic monsters like a postmodern Minotaur's maze. At the end, you'll find the Cutting Room, a blood-slick butcher's abattoir where the showman waits to receive your tribute. Give your pound of flesh, or that of another. Carve it out of them. Rip it out with your hands and offer it still steaming. Everything can be yours. When nothing is sacred, when nothing is forbidden, everything is possible.
Remind me never to talk to him when I'm only running on sugar and hate. Oh, good work. I need water. Whoa.
So now step
You
one
dropped
is
your
to,
cookie.
to finish the book. Yeah, so what's the new timeline then? You got some
I have no idea.
feedback?
I have no idea. Right now, I have a job, so my job cuts into my writing time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I need to overcome this particular block. I need to resolve this question of qualitative mechanics, right? So I gotta trim, I gotta prune, I then have to grow, I have to add stuff. You have to add stuff as you remove stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've done that.
But once it's solid, it's like, okay, now I gotta figure out how to get art, and then the proposal that I think is a good proposal is go POD, through various means, and then if it does well, and I mean with these kinds of responses, I don't see how it wouldn't do well as long as it gets good word of mouth, and we all know people. Propose a Kickstarter for a hardcover, and at least I know one person that's like, I want a hardcover. I need this on my desk.
Digest size, yes. I'm not going to be able to digest it, but it needs to be digest size.
No, man, I'm telling you, you know the obvious answer. You put this next to Chalt. So you have Wretched Verse, you have Chalt, and you have the Red Ministries. That'd be great.
Oh, God. No.
I don't know if my shelf can hold all of that. all of that darkness.
I don't know if 2 covers in a spine can hold that bit of darkness. Jeez. Fuck.
Well, remember, I don't know. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't know. While I was working on the Red Ministries, there were some ideas for basically vampires in wretched space, and they were so neat that I started putting together like an entire second book. So in addition, Wolfgar, in addition to here's this that you've seen, there's okay, now what if we took all that and put it in space? Because who doesn't want to play a badass vampire knight in power armor that is designed to drain people mid-combat?
I need my emotional support animal.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because that's actually how Mutants got done. Was I was writing rules for an RPG system and another skirmish war game, and basically all the rules that didn't work for those, I just cut and paste it into a separate file until I had the workings of a mostly complete game, and it ended up getting finished before either of the other two.
Oh yeah, no, it's hilarious. The Blood Knights of the 13th Millennium, which is the test name that needs to will probably get changed, is actually more complete than the Red Ministries. But no, Wolfgar, it's fine. It's fine. Who doesn't
you got a cat
want
there? You're gonna be fine.
Who doesn't want a weapon that when you swing it, it causes a fear effect because the sound of the weapon moving through the air causes a sonic scream that inspires terror? That just sounds awesome to me.
Good work.
Why would vampires have wrist-mounted gauntlets that fire tasers so that they can stun prey? That just sounds perfectly reasonable.
I really wish he would quit ripping up my shirts. Come on. All right.
He is a cat.
Yeah.
He's full of hate and vanity.
Oh, I see. Has he got some of his belly shaved?
Yeah. We had to bring him. We had to take him for an ultrasound, and he's got irritable bowel syndrome. Like, I didn't know cats could suffer that. That's really weird.
I mean, you also discovered, much to your chagrin, he is not pregnant.
It is 2024. You have to watch out, man. These cats have a culture of their own.
Did you presume your cat's gender, sir?
I mean, I'm no veterinarian, but well, I actually am super grateful that you guys let me hop on. I did want to mention, because one of the things that gets people caught up on Rumble Studio is when you're messing around on the like studio tab and you add videos and stuff, make sure you hit the ellipsis. And if you hit the ellipsis, you can save it, so that way it's there every time you log into it. Otherwise, you can.
Yeah, I noticed that last night. I had to reinstall everything. I was like,
yeah.
what
So
the fuck?
every time you add a new piece of media, make sure you hit save for later. And then when you want to pin comments, I can't do it. This is my first time being on like the guest side of Rumble Studio. But if you look at the comments, if you click on the comment, it should bring up a pin for indefinitely, pin for 1, pin for 3, or pin for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, there we go.
So you can tell who's the professional here because it's not us.
Well, I got to beta test it, so I was sending notes to the design team, and I still have a bunch of notes. Like some of the features that I'd really like for it is being able to chat yourself inside of Rumble Studio. Otherwise, the only other way to do it is to have your own video up somewhere else and then be in that chat.
So what you're saying is you're sending messages back to them covered in blood that are just, it's wrong
by Carrier Raven and in eclectic languages that are no longer spoken, because that's the only way the parlor does business. But
I mean, look, we can all speak Eldritch. You just lack the appropriate number of vocal mandibles because you gotta like go.
No, you've seen my hat of Eldritch speaking. I think I've got it around here.
Oh, you have a hat. He has a magic item for this.
Yeah.
How excellent!
My wife made it for me. I think I wore it on the stream one time.
Ah, yes.
Dude, gives me all the required mandibles for every single little syllable.
See, this is the problem. This is actually the problem. D&D through WoTC stewardship has screwed itself because that is the kind of thing that if I was running D&D, I'd be like, oh, that's what that looks like. Not specifically the knit cap, but the idea that it's like, what does a helm of Eldritch Speeching look like? It's like, it looks like a squid head. What does it do? It facilitates the number of speaking parts you don't have that an illithid does. Oh, that makes perfect sense. And then you say it's biomechanical. It's like, no. I don't want to put the living squid head on. It's like, but that's how it works. Don't worry, you can still breathe in the squid, And right, the thing is that anything that we don't use in D&D, anything that WoTC loses on is, frankly, the OSR's gain. So, where would you see that? The answer is, we've said it before, Shalt. You go to Chalt, you open the box. What do you see? It's a cooler full of squid heads. I do a check. What are these? It's like, oh, these are helms of Eldritch Speaking. Oh, joy! How do you use them? Well, you put the squid over your face. No, I don't want it. It's like,
then you can't parlay and get Zoth-laced Spepsies from the Illithids in the cocaine cave.
but of course, it's like, well, at worst you can sell them. They're worth a fair number of credits to the right cultists.
Oh, speaking of Chalt, did you guys see my character sheet that is now part of the Advanced Crimson Dragon Slayer rules?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, is that on Big Geek Emporium right now?
I know it's updated on drive-through right now.
Is it a character, or is it actually your character sheet? Is it Patty's Parlor, the sheet?
It is a character sheet specifically for Chalt, and I think I'm gonna do. So I've got the coloring contest for my cover right now. That ends the 29th, and then I'm thinking in March doing a Chalt character competition. So people can fill out that character sheet, and then Venger will judge it, and whoever gets the best will get their Chalt character drawn by me.
Okay, so it is not, in fact, a character sheet that says, you encounter a middle-aged bearded man wearing a helm of the Eldritch.
No, that is, although I might make one using that new sheet. But yeah, it's there.
Well, again, back in the day, back when we used to have fun, and it's one of the few things I will criticize the OSR for is, I know we like to have fun, but we're also really into being sour and getting into beefs that are no good. Back in the day, Gary and the guys used to have fun with it. And you could just be out in the wild doing your thing. It's like, what'd you get on the roll? What do you encounter? It's like, you encounter a middle-aged man with glasses. He rolls dice and says that he is pleased to meet you.
All right, let's see. Log in. Oh, why am I... some things I gotta log in to see. Which
oh my god!
I
could see forever.
Right.
It was the event horizon
share window.
Things you can't unsee.
Where we're going, we don't need eyes.
Large window. This one.
It's funny because it's true.
Yeah, I was trying to bring it up, but it's not.
Speaking of which, we were actually talking in the tribe Telegram chat about Shannon Elizabeth, and there was a picture of her. She's wearing this dress. You could see through it, and there it is. And I'm looking at it, going, all right. And our tribal fruit was like, she could put eyes out with those things, and I was like, better than having your eyes burned out by the sun or some artificial light. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. If I gotta go blind, if I gotta pick the way I gotta go blind, that's it right there.
Joe, don't ponder too closely. But with the mention of tatas, I have to say tata for now. Love you guys. Right. See you around.
See you,
that is indeed what was happening. I was getting drawn in by the siren's allure of Twitter.
And we've seen a lot of those on Twitter lately. I'm still trying to pull that. Still loading results. Come on, jeez, what is going on here? Sleazy space opera. Title name hidden.
Also, what cyclists? Who are the vicious cyclists reading their vicious cycle?
This is what I don't understand. Why in the hell? Universal exploits. Why in the hell would you? Okay, originally entitled Pussy Chasers, Legend of Oral. Okay. And this was for Alpha Blue. Now it's called Universal Exploits. Why would you hide the title? Glenn Seal did some of the artwork.
Who is this?
It's here, I'll just share the screen. It is this.
Oh, they hid the screen so they could get on, or they hid the name so they could get on Drive-Thru RPG.
It originally entitled Pussy Chasers, The Legend of Oral. Now it's just called Universal Exploits.
Yeah.
If you're least bit offended by adult mature content of a sexual nature, words and pictures, then please stay away. You'll certainly be offended by this awesome space product. It's true. You will be. Stop it. Save yourself from hell? What is this? Okay, so this one does like Event Horizon, Hellraiser, Spaceballs, Airplane 2, various Kung Fu films, and anything with Cthulhu in it. Okay. That's for Alpha Blue as well.
That is actually a thing. My peers and I at work have discovered that we have to subject one of our coworkers to something. She is in her 20s, and she's not a bad person. She's on the ball. She knows a lot of stuff, but there are many movies she hasn't seen. She's been a lifelong vampire player and never seen Blade, right? So we're like, we got to fix that. But more importantly to this conversation, she's never seen Airplane.
Oh, that's
so
terrible.
Yeah, but here's the thing: our roughly the same age Romanian coworker has, right? So there's me, there's they. We're at work, and we start talking about Airplane because we're like, oh no, you've got to see it. You don't understand. It's so good. It's so great. Like there's that scene where the person's freaking out on the plane, and so they slap him, and then like, no, let me do it. So then the next guy slaps him, and then it pans to the left, and you just see the line of people, and there's like a guy with brass knuckles, and there's a person who's got boxing gloves, and there's the fucking kid with a chain, and there's the Hare Krishna ready to go, and it's like.
Striker.
And I told her the best joke. I told her the best joke in the movie, and she didn't get it. You knew she didn't get it as you said it, right? Do you recall the best joke in Airplane? The actual best joke in Airplane?
Do you like movies about gladiators, Timothy?
No, that's the most memorable one.
Yeah, that's just the most memorable one.
That's Peter Graves being creepy. No. The best joke, the actual best joke in Airplane is Leave It to Beaver's mom talking jive to those couple of guys.
Oh my God, yeah.
That is the actual best joke in that movie.
I remember that. I'm fluent in jive.
It's like, but you're Leave It to Beaver's mom.
Oh, it just reminds me of that one scene in the Kentucky Fried movie of the stunt man.
Oh, this question is a couple of weeks out, but I need to know. How'd you like Ice Pirates, Wolfgar?
Oh, yeah. I finally got around to sitting down and watching that.
Yeah.
And oh, my God. I love
Space herpes.
Yeah, space herpes.
Space herpes.
they bring it up. They never resolve it. It doesn't do anything to go anywhere. It's just there.
No,
that's the beauty of it.
Here's the thing. It's really low budget. It's very 70s.
Oh,
right.
Very.
It's clearly riffing Star Wars. Like it's the cheap diet knockoff of Star Wars. But honestly, there's so much of it that I love, from the weirdly inappropriate racial jokes, right, and the sex jokes, to just the outright awesome that is. Wait a minute, so let me get this straight. Pirates, like classic high seas style pirates, steal ice from Knights Templar in space using combat droids. And at the end of the movie, they have that big fight scene, and the Templar fight droids are intimidating despite being dudes in suits. Because you see the pirate droids, and they're all like little cobbled together martial arts fighting rock'em sock'em robots.
Yeah.
And then the Templar droids come in, and they all are like armored dudes with greatsword. Thud, thud, thud. It's great. The movie's great. I don't want a remake because they'll screw it up. But if they did a remake, I want a remake with a budget. I want to see the Ice Pirates that the Ice Pirates believes it is.
This is it. I love Ice Pirates. The last 20 minutes of the film could be its own TV series. That's true. And then there's the ending where they come upon Earth.
Right.
It's not
No.
inhabited yet. And I'm like,
Well, that's what I mean when I
oh!
say it's very 70s, because that's the same era as Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
say,
it was a popular idea at the time that what if all of our mythology is true, but not on Earth because we're a transplant by ancient aliens from long ago, and mankind has a cosmic destiny in the stars in the age of Aquarius.
and it comes to Giorgio Cyclists. I don't want to say it was aliens, but it was aliens. I just need the really messed up wig to go with that.
I mean, that's why I'm here. I've got the beard and the hair, just
But we my friend Angelique and I were talking yesterday about
Ice Pirates.
not about ice pirates, but we're doing something similar, and it is probably the most dysfunctional group you've ever seen in space, where I'm playing a drug addicted alcoholic space smuggler by the name of Graves, who's if you take Han Solo and mix him with Marlboro from Harley Davidson and Marlboro Man,
Right.
you put them together and you just take out the charm. That's basically the character.
Right.
And the way he talks is definitely all Marlboro. The actions are semi Han Solo without any nobility whatsoever. And yeah, just constantly drinking and drugging because he's in constant pain. And Angelique is playing this female android who has like several different personas you could put her in. And at one point, she actually there's another android she plays, which is an older model that takes everything you say literally. So you have to be careful what you tell her. And at one point, the primary android she plays rolled her eyes, and I went, "You got annoyed at that?" It turns out it's just one of her personas reacting. And we got a gray alien who heads the whole operation. And he's the one who lays claim to the space stations for salvage rights, and we kind of squat there. So we got this new station that she built.
They said you could be anything, so you grew up to be Space Gupniks. You just squat on the station and be like,
I grew up to be an asshole, yeah. So I'm the one with the ship, which is this big freighter that I've converted into a smuggling machine, and we've got a runabout that'll go between the parked freighter and this station. And we're about to bring a friend of mine in. And it's going to be funny, but these are the most dysfunctional people you have ever seen, and they operate so well that we got to talking about her and I got to talking about another sim where they actually had at this I think it's like a post-apocalypse like Fallout type sim. They have like in this ruined ass city, they got a church there, and there was a person that used to come in and deliver sermons every Sunday, and they would attend in character. Turns out that person was a preacher for real, and they were, she left Second Life to go to Africa. So at some point, they decided to put a cookie machine in because one of the characters got this mistaken idea that they got cookies in church. Like at some part in the ceremony, they were handed a cookie.
They misunderstood that the communion wafer is not a cookie.
So now there's this slot machine. It reads cookies and it's pointing down. And when you click it, it asks, "Did you pray today?" You have to click it again. It says, "You need to pray a little more." And then when you click it a third time, it gives you a big chocolate chip cookie. Well, the person that left SL to go to Africa to carry her actual ministry there,
right?
They know her as the cookie preacher because that's what she does. She gives out cookies. She legit gives out cookies. She got wind of this and says she loves it. And I was like, I'm totally going to rip that off. And I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to do with it. In fact, I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to rip that off for this game right here. And
yes, I'm
going to have a desperate struggle for supremacy over the cookie machine.
Right.
I just need to build. I need this. I need to build I need to build a campaign built on something so stupid and pointless.
Hey, man, if Family Guy can make an entire episode about surviving the apocalypse while trying to find the Twinkie factory, you can do an Atomic Punk about controlling the cookie machine.
Yeah, I guess I could, yeah.
But since we're talking about fun game stories now, which I don't think is a segment of the show we get to do enough. We're always so busy talking about heavy subjects.
Before you do, I know you had some things you wanted to bring up.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff in video gaming and comic books particularly.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure I'll remember some of it at some point, probably about 5 minutes before we're ready to cut. But no, right now all of my players are, or at least one key player is mad at me in the best way, and I'm like,
oh boy, I'll be right back.
So the context of my Requiem Chronicle is a city that's been afflicted with generalized amnesia because it has a magical effect of some sort where characters are moving between versions of reality, right? They remember where they're from and they remember what reality was like, but where they're at, not everybody remembers things the same way on an individual basis. So nobody has the full story of what's going on. And one player has been really hot to get into the secrets. And part of this is that they discovered that their character is a vampire that can edit memory, right? And that they may have made a repository of backup memories. They might have the actual what went down. We can find it. We just got to figure out what it is. And they've been having this problem that nothing seems to go right, and everything seems to be an emotionally draining event, right? So they actually talked to an in-game therapist who said, have you considered that maybe there's a problem internally? And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, well, you're a vampire. You're trying to find solutions, but all your primary actions seem to be humanocentric. You're not a human being. Why aren't you using your vampiric intelligence? And on a thought experiment, they get a big mirror, right? And they put the mirror in front of the player. It's the first time the players actually look at themselves in a mirror in game, right? Only to discover that another version of themselves is staring back at them because their soul's been broken into two pieces, and the half that's stuck in their reflection is a different version of them.
Holy fuck.
Right? So they're like, okay, well let's talk to it. They get a Ouija board out, they put it on the table, right? And they're like, point at the letters and we'll spell out what you want, right? So what does the reflection say? Drink me before the bad guys do. And it's like, wait, what? What do you mean drink you? And then the player went, oh no. And everyone's like, what? It's like okay, so you remember how we were told that the Order Dracul had a memory repository that they had put into human beings because it was safer than putting it into physical media that could be stolen? Yeah. And remember how they put them in the city somewhere so that the people wouldn't find them because they're just normals walking around? Yeah. That's my memory!
Oh.
And they're like, wait a minute, so you're telling me that your memory is your beast that's been put into other people, and if you don't find it on the PDQ and drink it, somebody else is going to drink it and steal all of our stuff.
Oh, man. That's rough.
And they're, like I said, they're a little mad at me right now. But I'm just like...
God damn, dude. Oh, man. But I think you wanted to talk about, what was it, Vicious Ink Studios?
I mean, only in passing. I don't have all the deets there, but...
Okay.
Yeah, basically, Comicsgate, has had another setback, another smash in the face. because first you've got Eric July and Ethan Van Sciver slap fighting, right? Even if you are a fan of July, because you and I have had that conversation, you and I know that creator slap fighting is not a good look for anyone involved, right? But Vicious Inc. Comics seems to have been exposed as kitty diddler.
Oh.
And several people that I know on a personal level are like, fuck, and are very upset because they've been close to this person, and now every interaction has a pallor of negativity on it. But I mean, what can you do?
Well, what you can do is wait for that to get hashed out in court.
Basically, that's always been my go-to thing, is that if it doesn't actually go to court, you can't actually assume it's real.
That's true.
And then, of course, this was outed as something that had gone to court, but I mean, it's rough, it's iffy, because they're saying that they went to court under an accusation from two people, one of whom recanted, and they took the plea deal because they were advised by their lawyer to take the plea deal, right? So they're tainted now, but it's not real. And it's like, there's no way to prove that one way or the other. And it's just an unpleasant mess that nobody needs right now, because nobody needs that shit right now.
There is a way to prove that.
I mean, court documents would help.
Court documents, yeah. You would also have to get the attorney to vouch and all that stuff. But Stu, what's going on? Glad you could be here. There we go. Pop that up there. Boom. But
after 10,000 years.
10,000. I'm about to head in for that kind of stretch tomorrow, because I got a 6-day week. After this week, it's I'm really not looking forward to it. But anyway, yeah, it would have to be. You would basically have to have the attorney release a statement for you. Definitely, don't be releasing statements yourself, and release any court documents if you want to prove that moving forward. That's about the only way to do it. But again, when it comes to stuff like that, these days I'm not so quick to just jump on the bandwagon. Let that play out in court. I'm not on a jury. I have nothing to do with it. So
that's my thing. Is I'm very much like, I can't bandwagon anymore. I can't. I can't sit sideline and try to appeal to a neutral or a middle ground that doesn't want to hear it. Well, everyone is having a lot more fun getting ramped up and getting upset, because it's just negativity I don't need.
Man, well, it's also you can't reason with people who have none.
Right.
And believe it or not, there's I'm
actually scrolling back here trying to find some of the subjects I wanted to talk about.
All right, so right here, this book, I'm telling all of you, it's like $15. Just get a copy. It's from 1979. I think it's one of the best books ever, and it's one of my favorites. I'm about to tell you exactly why. There's a scene, you've seen it in the movie, where Gmork the werewolf and Atreyu finally meet after Gmork has chased Atreyu, through. The movie calls it Fantasia. It's called Fantastica, but he said, let's see, let's go back. This is going to be in context here. So Gmork was enjoying Atreyu's conversation or consternation. This little talk was cheering him up. Now, keep in mind, he's been chained. He's been chained by Gaia, who then sacrificed herself to the Nothing because she was the only one who could free him. So now he'll never be free. So we got some Norse mythology nods in there too.
Oh yeah.
After a while, he went on. You asked me, "What will you be there? What are you here? What are you creatures of Fantastica? Dreams, poetic inventions, characters, and a never-ending story. Roll credits. Do you think you're real? Well, yes, here in your world you are. But when you've been through the nothing, you won't be real anymore. You'll be unrecognizable. You'll be in another world. In that world, you Fantasticans won't be anything like yourselves. You will bring delusion and madness into the human world. Tell me, Sonny, what do you suppose will become of all the Spook City folk who have jumped into the nothing? I don't know, Atreyu stammered. They will become delusions in the minds of human beings, fears where there is nothing to fear, desires for vain, hurtful things, despairing thoughts where there is no reason to despair. All of us? Asked Atreyu in horror. No, Gamork, said Gamork. There are many kinds of delusion. According to what you are here, ugly or beautiful, stupid or clever, what you will become, ugly or beautiful, stupid or clever lies. And what about me? Atreyu asked. What will I be? Gamork grinned. I won't tell you that. You'll see, or rather, you won't see because you won't be yourself anymore. Atreyu started at the werewolf with wide open eyes. Gamork went on. That's why humans hate Fantastica and everything that comes from here. They want to destroy it. And they don't realize that by trying to destroy it, they multiply the lies that keep flooding into the human world. For these lies are nothing other than the creatures of Fantastica who have ceased to be themselves and survive only as living corpses, poisoning the souls of men with their fetid smell. But humans don't know it. Isn't that a good joke? And he goes on to tell him, in fact, that's the heart of the matter, don't you see? If humans believe Fantastica doesn't exist, they won't get the idea of visiting your country. As long as they don't know you creatures of Fantastica as you really are, the manipulators do what they like with them. What can they do? Whatever they please. When it comes to controlling human beings, there is no better instrument than lies, because you see, humans live by beliefs, and beliefs can be manipulated. The power to manipulate beliefs is the only thing that counts. That's why I sided with the powerful and served them, because I wanted to share their power.
Extra funny when you consider that the actual villain of the book isn't even the primary villain. He's just the primary antagonist that's available.
Yeah, for the moment.
Well, because one of those things that gets the runaround gets talked about in various circles is if you're gonna have a fictional piece, right? You want your hero to beat the big bad, and it's like, no, you don't have to have them fight the big bad. You can have them fight the second bad. All you have to do is parse that the second bad is so bad that the big bad is so bad that the second bad is good enough.
Yeah. And it's not like he could fight the nothing.
Right.
You know, like if he were literally to go sword in hand, wearing the Orin against the nothing, he would just be sucked up. Gamork would be right.
Well, because you and I know what they would do if this was a modern telling, right? He would put on the special doodad, and with the power of friendship, he would shine a light into the nothing, and the nothing would be obliterated, and all would be well. And then, of course, everyone who died would come back, because nothing ever really truly dies.
Well,
just ask Rian Johnson.
That was how the first movie kind of ended. That was how the first book didn't quite end that way. The first half of the book, it was very similar to the movie, but they took a lot of creative liberties. Yeah, Michael Enda hated it. He didn't want to be associated with the movie at all.
But here's the thing, though. In the film, if we just talk about the film for a minute, the good guys lose. Fantasia is destroyed. It's reduced to a single grain of sand, right?
Mm.
But the idea is that from that grain of sand, from that tiny component of creativity, a new world was created in the heart of a young boy. So it's not a throwaway CGI extravaganza victory, right?
Yeah.
It's even after you've accepted that everything has to end, that doesn't mean that's the end. That's a different narrative. That's a different parable, right? I don't think that they would do something like the Swamps of Sadness now, because that would be too hurtful to audiences.
Yeah, I think in the movie it was called the Swamp of Despair, but in the book
Right.
it definitely was the Swamp of Sadness in the book. And let me tell you, it only takes like 4 chapters, like maybe 3 or 4 chapters to get into that. And I am thankful every day that I did not listen to that part in public because I was a fucking mess.
Look, our friends who are watching, Wolfgar and I are horrible monsters, and we're deep and we're dark and we're evil. You can't see it because he's wearing his glasses, but believe you me, he has the gaze of Satan. And yet, if we were watching and or reading the Neverending Story, when we get to that certain point, we would both be like deep in 16 boxes of Kleenex and being like, "No man, it's okay, because that is totally that.
I think the one thing that the movie robs the viewer of that the book actually fills in quite nicely is they don't tell you, and if you haven't seen this movie, I'm not even giving you a spoiler alert because you should have seen it by now. What they don't tell you is why Artax sinks into the swamp and why Atreyu loses his horse and best friend Artax. They don't tell you that. The book does. The book clearly lines out that it was the Auran that protected Atreyu, and he did offer it to Artax in order to save him, and Artax turned it down because it wasn't given to him.
Right.
And I was like, Jesus, just rip my heart out and fucking stomp it right in front of me. Why don't you? Fuck.
I mean, when you know that, because I didn't know that. Once you know that, that makes his death even sadder, because that's
it hurts even more.
That's I'm just saying that's a variation on the exchange from Sam and Frodo that everyone loves so much. Because it's like, Atreyu can't carry Artax.
No. Whereas Sam was like, I can't carry the ring, but I can carry you. Oh, right. Fuck.
But that's the thing though. Artax is you actually see it now, like in your brain space. It's like Artax is like, it's okay. Go save the world. I'm just gonna stay here. It's like, a heroic sacrifice by a horse. It's amazing.
And Artax talks. That's the other thing.
Shit. Artax, the movie didn't do that either.
No, the movie did not do that. I was like, how did they get that horse to do that without that horse freaking the fuck out?
What, being buried?
Yeah. Like,
that's easy. Horses will totally stand there quite comfortably and be buried up to the neck.
But I mean, that horse went under.
Oh, I know.
I didn't know how they did that. That was a great practical effect. Wow.
I know this because it's actually used in a book that I love, that I have never mastered. It's one of those things where you start reading it, you read a bit, you love it, and then you put it down, and it's like, why didn't you keep reading? It's like, because it's thick, it's heavy, and it's not that it's heavy in content, it's heavy in like its craft. So it's like, oh man, I need all my brain power to understand this because it's so good. Have you ever read The Irish RM?
No.
It's a late Victorian, early 20th century piece about what's called a reticent magistrate in Ireland. And the RM is basically a judge, right? And he's affable city folk, right? But he's been given a assignment to a rural part of Ireland, right? Now, he is as honest as the day is long, and he's a good guy. He's well-meaning, but he's not necessarily so quick on the uptake. Okay? His landlady is this woman named Mrs. Haversham, who is just iron-fisted. She has everybody under a barrel, except her cousin. I want to say it's her cousin, Flurry Knox. Flurry Knox is a smiling trickster. He's a slick operator. And throughout the series of short stories that all involve the RM, Flurry gets the RM into his shenanigans in such a way that Flurry can get away with it even if he doesn't succeed and doesn't get caught, right? And one of the first stories is a little bit of horse trading, a little bit of selling some horses. It's all good, and a horse disappears, and they're on to Flurry. They think that Flurry is stealing horses. He's like, well, I'm not stealing horses. I mean, feel free to search. You got to find the horse. So they all go looking for the horse, and they can't find it, and they're looking, right? And the RM who was on the scene is hiding because he doesn't want to get caught at a crime scene where there might be a stolen horse. He could get into a lot of trouble. And as he's hiding in the bushes, he hears a horse whinny, just like a very little like snort, right? And he looks in the bush that he's hiding in, and the bush is looking back at him, and he's like, wait, what? And he discovers that under the bush, the horse has been buried up to the neck, and he's just quietly sitting there like eating grass. He's just chilling. So when he is then found, because he is shocked, they're like, it's a horse. They're like, oh, RM, you're here. What did you find? It's like, I found a horse. It's buried in a, and the Flurry gets away with it, but the spin is just the sheer hilarity of how do you explain to someone you found a misplaced buried horse.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I wanted to close this out with I think you saw the last comic book haul that I did.
I mean, you share those. You photograph what you got.
Yeah. The last comic book haul that happened. Let me pull up my. I think I might have downloaded these. I think I might have downloaded them. I don't know. Yeah, I did. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to show you this because I know you'll appreciate this. You will definitely appreciate this.
Yes, I did see this, and I felt warm fuzzies all over because that's not Midnight Suns, but it's Midnight Suns adjacent, and it's actual Midnight Suns.
Yeah.
And I believe the black cover there on the bottom right is from the Blackout mini story.
Yep, the Midnight Massacre. Yeah.
Right, where every cover that was in that line was released as that black feely cover.
Let me try that again because suddenly it just blinked out. It went, there's nothing to show here. The hell
it's unfortunate that Marvel doesn't know what to do with their own properties right now because the Darkhold is one of the more interesting components of Marveldom. The Book of Evil, written by a madman, but full of ancient Chthonian magic. It's basically their Necronomicon, but they make it their own. They do interesting things with it.
The Book of Sins, if you will. Yeah,
indeed. Well, because remember, at one point, it's not even that the Darkhold is in one piece. It's that it's been torn up and different people have different components of it. Yeah. And everybody's racing to get a complete version of the Darkhold.
Yeah.
To say nothing of the fact that fakes have been put out there by Lucifer for a laugh because Mephisto's an asshole.
That is. And I thought, like, I picked up one comic book of this back when I was, I don't know, probably about 12, 13, 14, something like that.
Yeah.
I was very young. I was just kind of getting into comic books. I was just getting into Morbius. I think it was issue number 5 where they introduced the Basilisk.
No, but I have that book. I have that book physically, and I have that book electronically. I'll figure out what number that is for you. Carry on.
But it's like issue number 5 or number 7, one of those.
I love the Basilisk. I wish they'd do more with it.
Really, yeah, that was a really good one.
It's Morbius's actual nemesis. Although I prefer Dr. Payne.
I never did get to Dr. Payne.
There's Dr. Payne is like in an issue and a half, and he's caught Morbius, who was in a bad way, right? And Morbius wakes up like in a tech wheelchair. He's all chained up. And Dr. Payne is like, "Oh, you're awake. How lovely. I never get to talk to a fellow medical peer." And they're talking about Morbius's condition and how Morbius is still dying. And it's like, what are you doing here? What are you doing to these people? And Dr. Payne basically explains that he's kidnapping hobos off the street and using them for illicit medical experiments because nobody cares about hobos. And it's like, well, what are you doing to that woman? And it's like, oh, I'm doing brain surgery. Well, what kind of brain surgery? Well, she's got late stage 3 terminal cancer. It's like, in the brain? Yes. Well, why are you doing are you removing the cancer? It's like, no, I'm removing the brain. Why? Because I want to see if I can turn the cancerous tissue into a rudimentary autonomic nerve system so that she stays alive without upper brain function.
Jeez.
And it's like, you're a bad man.
And then this bunch right here came from the same haul. Got a few issues of the one of the best X-Men storylines ever. These are still sealed. I grabbed Terminal Drift because I actually had a comic book of this at one point where this is a series that gets God and technology ass backwards, but it was so good. It was so weird. Union, I've always wanted this one. So Mark Texeira is one of my favorite artists because he's very dark. And I wanted to read it. Slash Maraud, I saw this one back in 1986. This is from 1987. And I wanted to read it, like really, really badly. It just looked cool. This has Chalt screaming all over it. And this is 6 issues in that one bag for like $1. So, and of course, I got these 2 modern Thor comics because I like J. Michael Straczynski. I'm a big fan of his work. Lazarus Ridden, I'm a big fan of Lazarus, of course. And wasn't there one more that I grabbed? Yep, right here, Conan the Barbarian, issue number 6. The new trade paperback that collects the first 4 issues is out. I'm gonna go see if I can't order that at some point.
I mean, if our friend Damnedest Bastard is still in the audience, Kimeria does not forget.
Yep, never forgets ever.
But I must apologize. You, in fact, are correct from your half memories. It is issue 5 that the Basilisk is introduced, which I own. The source of my confusion is that I also own issue 8. So I was remembering the wrong book.
Yeah.
Issue 8 is where Morbius accidentally kills Vic Slaughter and his hard cases. Ooh. And Vic Slaughter comes back as one of Morbius's vampire children and is way worse than Morbius ever imagined.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, Morbius didn't know he could make baby vampires, and once he did, he's like, I don't want none of this.
No.
I'll
be honest with you, out of all of Morbius's looks, I liked his 90s look the best, that leather motorcycle suit with the...
It is very good.
Yeah, it's really good. That 70s look with the opera collar and tights, not my favorite.
Well, I also like the 2013 Morbius, where it's just Morbius in a hoodie.
I failed to see that one.
The important component is that by that point in his life, Morbius has basically given up and is living as a hobo and just trying to get by without getting bullshit.
Oh, okay.
Right? So he's got himself a hoodie and he's like, I'm going to live in this shit corner of Boston and I'm going to eat garbage out of a dumpster. Please leave me alone. And unfortunately, in the way of such things, he can't be left alone because he sees bad guys and feels the need to involve himself.
There's a great art collection. Stories apocryphal, but most of the comics are. Dude, when I opened that book, the first thing I saw was, I swear, even though I've never seen Belit before, I swear it was from the Pirate Queen story. So she was talking to Conan about gods, like first thing out. And I was like, aha, okay. All right, I see where this is going. So I thought it was pretty cool. Stu, my childhood very much lacked comics. I owned on 3 or 4 comics, none of which were Marvel, DC, or Dark Horse. One was oddly enough a piece for the United States Naval Academy. Yeah, I didn't get to collect as I would have liked. I did have, like, if I could get like the first, let's say, Youngblood 1 through 4, X-Force 1 through 4, which was a complete story. If you include also Amazing Spider-Man number 16, when Todd McFarlane was drawing it, which tied in, that was a complete opening series. If I could get that, I consider myself very lucky. And if I could collect the single issues after that was, big accomplishment for me. Now I just, when I go to the comic book shops, it's just like whatever kind of strikes me, because most modern comics don't really appeal to me. I find the covers very boring. I don't like a lot of what's coming out of modern comics today.
I mean, we talk about this in RPGs. The
Yep.
Clyde Cowell effect. Clyde did amazing covers that made you want them. And then
Yep.
you look at modern RPG covers and indeed modern fantasy art covers for books, and it's like, oh, look, stock clip art with stock font on cheapest. Gee, I'm so enthused to read your, what's that, number 616 Game of Thrones knockoff that's half as well written. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, it's terrible, but like, I'm gonna say this: the new Dragonlance book has great art. The artwork is fantastic. I do love it. Some pieces not so much, but most of it I did enjoy. But the problem was that really, Wizards really should have done, in my opinion, really the you know what? If you hit me up for that, know one thing, I am totally interested, because I did collect. I think I had Spawn number 1 and 2. I did have some Spawn comic books back in the day, and I still do enjoy the HBO animated series because it stayed very faithful to the. It was almost a direct adaptation of page to screen.
So what you're saying is that you would do anything, work in the world's worst shithole, anything to be anywhere else than here now, like this.
I would go to work. I would go to work.
Man,
I no longer.
not enough people know that series, because not enough people give credit not only to Keith David, right,
God, yeah.
but the voice of Jason Wynn is the same voice actor that was Trevor Goodchild in Eon Flux.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you have to love how Keith David approached that role.
Uh-huh.
And that was just the parts where, Cagliostro would show up and he'd be like, "Out of my way, old man."
Look, I got no money and I got no opportunities, but solidly every time I come across a Mortal Kombat clip and it's got Spawn, I'm like, I might have to buy that, because I need to hear Keith David in my fighting game.
Oh yeah. Who took everything from me? Fatality.
Although I gotta be clear, Jai White wasn't bad.
Oh,
in the
Michael Jai
Spawn
White was a
movie.
bad motherfucker in that movie. The problem is
Yeah.
they had crappy computer effects.
Right.
The computer effects for the cape were terrible. John Leguizamo, I think, did really well as the clown.
He did. I think that people do not give enough credit to the idea that Spawn is so ridiculous as a comic that John Leguizamo was not over the top.
No.
The clown is like that. If anything, his clown was watered down.
Because every time someone fights, a demon gets its wings. Twins.
Well, because remember, right, from the animated series, the clown does some truly vile things that are just in the background and people don't take notice of.
Yeah,
Right?
I still got to know who. I got to look into who did the voice of the clown for the series, because God, he was so awesome. Get with the fucking program. It was so good. But anyway, we are at like 12 minutes over. So
yeah.
Anything to add before we close out?
Oh, check out what is it? Modern the Dutchman's book.
Oh, Modern Necessities. Yeah, that Kickstarter.
Yeah, if you ain't checked out Modern Necessities, check that shit out.
Yeah. I've got the original version of it for OSC.
Right.
I know there are people that kind of look at that supplement and go, well, what do I do with it? Let me tell you exactly what you do with it. So, as a matter of fact, I'll show you what you do with it. Because believe it or not, it was Dungeons and Diversity who pointed this out to me. And then I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And if you like the movie Bright, for example, you will absolutely love it. I haven't seen that movie. I really need to. But OSC right here, big bad. Yep. Then, so you get OSC. Let me show you what this box actually holds. Because there was so much room in that box, I was able to put another book in there.
Oh, sweet.
So, I mean, this is all that comes in the box.
Yep.
So there was extra room, and I could put this in there.
Nice.
And if you want to play this, guess what? Modern Necessities lends really well to this. So this is, of course, I jokingly call it Stranger Things the game, which is somewhat true. And personally, I think I can't wait to run a game of that, because that looks like so much fun. But all this fits just right down into the box with very, very little. Well, I mean, the overhang comes from that thing being stuck in there. But
look, I'll tell you what you do with Modern Necessities. Okay, I'll tell you exactly what you do with Modern Necessities. You set up a game. You start in media res, right? You're in the chopper. You give your party the debrief. You drop them into the jungle, okay? And in the first firefight, you have your NPC guide who's going to get shot in the face. Scream, "Elvis is in the trees! Elvis is in the trees!" Because that's what we call elves. Especially orcs that are pretending to be elves. We call them elvish impersonators.
Elvish impersonators.
Because they're in the trees.
Oh. Elvish impersonators.
And you just run fantasy Vietnam versus elves.
Or fantasy Predator.
Oh no, that is also true. And I have done that. I did that in a 40K game. It was great.
And look, this actually came with that Dark Places Demogorgons game that I got. Another little zine style game. It's my only sourness in the direction of Demogorgon is that he has gotten played so dirty by Stranger Things, because people go and they watch Stranger Things and they come away and they're like, okay, I now know everything about Demogorgon I need. And it's like, nope.
No, actually, he's a tentacle-armed, double-headed monkey man.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. What? It's like,
yep. Even reading it up on it myself, I was like, oh, that's interesting that they kind of chose. I get kind of why they did it, but I think most people kind of miss the point that these kids were playing D&D. This is how they understood that thing they were up against. But again, the figure that he throws onto the table is just what they end up encountering. And I was like, oh, here we go. Like this. When you're sharing a smoke with the boys after a hard day's work, then the bush starts speaking Elvish. This goes back to something I saw in what was it? It was Hailung's video for Al-Father Haiti, which was the comment section on that is pure gold. Like I woke up with half my head shaved, covered in rune tats, and an epic beard. That's not a good look for a woman in her 40s. Uh, I played this in my Toyota Prius. It's now a monster truck. And one of my favorites, everybody's gangsta till the forest starts chanting in Proto-Germanic. Everybody's making Teutoburg forest references, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. Oh, man, that's bad.
That is something that I would like to see, and I'm disappointed it hasn't been done. And I'm going to talk about it here, and somebody's going to steal the idea, and I'm going to cut myself out of a mountain of money.
Yeah.
Back in Third Ed days, there was a series called the Slayers books. Do you recall those?
Vaguely. They
were manuals for Third Ed, but they were really based on Second Ed material for showcasing and making certain monstrous humanoids more intimidating. Right? I've got Morgan Canaan's Book of Foes, but I was not really impressed with how it presented elves. I would love to do a book or to see a book done that's like, here are elves. Here are what elves are like. Elves are so much more horrible than you realize.
This is the book we're talking about. So yep. I'll be honest with you. I kind of wish he'd gone digest size with this so I could put it up there with my old school essentials, but it's just not going to fit. But this one, this particular book right here has 13 modern themed classes, rules for giving modern traits to a small selection of fantasy races, 56 modern weapons from pistols to rocket launchers and hand grenades, rocket launcher, ammunition, and firearm attachments, 13 modern pieces of armor, 54 modern pieces of equipment from cell phones to night vision goggles, vehicle rules, including 19 example vehicles, 48 technomancy spells, 16 modern examples of NPCs to do battle against, extra rules to add more flavor, such as rules for weapon jamming and armor damage.
I mean, see, that's a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier. That's not just a book that's replicating what's already there or is, doing some minimal work, changing a couple of... No, that is clearly you get your money's worth. There's a lot of material there.
Yeah, and this is the Lulu copy, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. They do the matte cover on this one. Drive Through RPG will do the glossy if that's what you want. I wanted matte.
Yeah.
I do love this one. It ain't me. I ain't no fortunate dwarf.
I ain't no fortunate dwarf. It's just as you make your go around as we've been doing our thing, I'd been noticing on the Twitch space that Victor had been mentioning, like, he's been losing followers and his stuff ain't doing as hot as it could.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, we're not an advertising front, not really, but we do what we can for our boys. And Victor has always been good to me. I ain't got no problems with Victor, even though Victor and I sometimes get like oil and water on rare occasion. But I mean, what can you expect of a human shoe? Sentient Clog's got rights. Windmill represent.
He is going to be doing a Kickstarter on this one. Okay. I don't know that he did I don't think this was a Kickstarter. I think he just released that one straight to POD.
Yeah.
So in fact, it was the Modern Adventurer's Guide to Guns and Gear. That was the one that did the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And that one was pretty awesome if you wanted to introduce that into your 5th edition D&D game. So like your Knights of Solamnia could still wear armor, but now they, instead of having that, rose or whatever etched into their breastplate, they're going to have a morale patch on Kevlar with a trauma plate. And rather than carrying swords, they're going to be carrying AR-10s or something like that, sidearms. And the measure, oh boy, I don't know how they treat that, but you could totally update it. You could update Kryn too, instead of castles having modern day buildings, so on and so forth.
Yet again, ways in which my players are currently angry at me. I did something mean. I did a super mean. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody knows that there are assassins on the street. Somebody's been trying to take out vampires, right?
Right.
And they were told like travel with a buddy, travel in pairs. Well, the super rich vampires who can afford security and armored limos have been like, that's for poor people. I don't care about that, right? So somebody went to the Elysium, they parked their vehicle, they went in, they were perfectly fine, right? Their chauffeur is sitting next to their car, keeping an eye on it, you know, reading his newspaper. Guy walks up to him, starts a conversation. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? What's going on? What people don't know is that while they're inside politicking, right, the assassin magicied the chauffeur, convinced him to come to a party, promised him, we're going to make you one of us tonight, after all of his years of waiting, being a chauffeur for a vampire, right?
Yeah.
So that night, after he's delivered his charge home, he goes to a party, they roofie him, right? And they proceed to fill his stomach with 7 condoms full of thermite. Next night, he's going. Person's heading to game. I do some rolls. I'm like, your chauffeur begins to scream in the front seat. What? Your chauffeur explodes in the front seat. What? The flame is so hot it cuts the limo in half in traffic in the front seat. You now have to test for frenzy because you are in a car on fire. That person survived and escaped the car, right? But they took like 4 ag at the beginning of the night that they couldn't get rid of all week.
Jesus.
And they're like, how? It's like, because you were safe, but your chauffeur wasn't.
You think? Dude,
So now people are really paranoid. As they should be.
All right, so now that we're almost like half an hour past our time, I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. As always, again, I'm gonna try to get these readings back on schedule. Like I said, with this week coming up, I'm working from tomorrow through Friday. So as for this week, I couldn't tell you. I don't know what the next week is looking like quite yet, but once we get there, we'll figure it out. That much I promise you. I am going to try at some point this week to get like the Havamal series and the Rune of the Week and all that done. Guys, you have no idea how long it takes to even just do like a 1-minute video. I had no idea. But if you're streaming tomorrow, what time, Patty? Because I'll be working until I think mid-afternoon. I know I got to go in like super early tomorrow, so I'm not going to be sticking around, staying up late and all that stuff. But if you're streaming like tomorrow night, I might stop in. I might just chill out. Don't know yet, but anyway, just wanted to remind all of you guys. Yeah, you know what? I think it's time we ditched D&D as a brand. Wizards of the Coast is showing us that they're not going to stop. You know, whatever they put into Creative Commons, just take that, make your own fucking thing. Or go with Castles and Crusades. Ditch D&D, go with CNC, C before D. There you go. That's all you need to remember. You can try it out for free. They give away the Player's Handbook 7th printing for free. The first printing, we need to talk about that. First printing, $45. You get the first printing, print and PDF. You know I'm going to do it. I'm trying to set aside a little money right now.
So I have an interesting question for you.
What?
If it's C before D because C and C is better than D and D, does that mean B before C because Bastard's better than Castles Crusades?
We're talking about the Wretched Verse again, aren't we?
I mean, Wretched Bastards. Does it start with W or does it start with B? I think it's Bastards.
It starts with W actually, but
Oh, okay. So Wretched Verse much worse than TNC.
Wretched Verse is only the type of character you're playing. Because you're not playing a heroic character, you're playing an anti-hero with that one.
It's true.
And that goes for Wretched Bastards, Wretched Space, Wretched New Flesh, Wretched Epoch, Wretched Exploitation, which I can't wait for that one to come out.
I mean, I have to double check, but I believe they actually just released a second ed Letters from a Leviathan. I think we just got their Wretched Cyberpunk again.
Yeah, that's Wretched New Flesh.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I was thinking of the add-on.
That is Wretched New Flesh.
Yeah.
And they also have a supplement for that they wrote a long time ago called All Bets Are Off.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another one. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen, $20 a month, you can subscribe to the site and get everything.
We also did get Agents of Wretch second edition. If you if you must be more 007.
007 while drunk. 007
so
while
Archer
influence. And smacking women's asses, just pow.
So you're just playing Archer.
Basically. Only not quite as noble. And of course, I'm going to say this. You have 3 days, ladies and gentlemen. 3. Get your ass to us.lotfp.com and get whatever books you want, because they're never going to be this inexpensive again. And on top of that, even if there is a sale, you're going to pay hella shipping if they can't find a new U.S. Warehouse. So get the books you want, get them now. It's never going to be like this again. Personally, I bought Adventure Anthology Death. That was the only one that I needed out of the 3. Terror in the Streets, Earth Incubation Crisis, Strict Time Records must be kept. I got that one just because of that stupid 1/1 time thing. And just the extreme bullshit that came from it. I bought that one. Like, okay, we're going to do that. We're going to play at LOTFP then. Meanderings of the Mind. That one I just thought was really interesting. Green Devil Face I got because Tim Harper worked on that one. The Black Chamber reminded me of his Mercanto's Lair dungeon, so I bought that one. And then I also bought Winnie the Shit, which is amazing. And as my friend Angelique puts it, Halfling Lives Matter. All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in.
But how do you feel about them gnomish lives? Gnomes marrying elves. Gnomes getting that sweet gnome pussy. Okay, real quick, serious. If you have never seen the animated shorts by Dungeon Soup, they are hilarious.
Okay, I'll check those out.
They are so good. And one of them is about it's about a number of things, but it's largely about what happens to your kingdom when you get the evil advisor. But I mean, Snake Tongue's an okay guy. He wouldn't do anything bad. His name is literally Snake Tongue. That is an evil man. He's trying to eat a baby.
But anyway, just remember, love you all. Take care of yourselves and each other. Always do and play what lights you up. And as always, play on. Bye.